It's the 5.
Number 5.
At 5. 5. With Jack Fritz.
Oh, 5. Beautiful 5.
So what I have for you today, again, maybe the toughest, and by toughest, I don't mean like physically tough. I mean tough to get through moment in the history of the midday show this morning. Or a midday
morning show.
/morning show.
Yeah.
This is combining the two, the toughest moments in midday show / new, how long do we say new morning show moment?
No, they're not new.
Yeah.
Current morning show. The Joe and John show.
DeCamara and Ritchie.
Yeah.
DeCamara and Ritchie.
So wait, you're doing a whole top 5 of 5 about their toughest moments?
The toughest moments in the history of their show.
Okay,
Yes.
and number 1 will be the new one.
Will be the new one,
Okay.
which is probably the toughest.
Yeah, it is
In the history of their show.
very tough.
It is very
Wait till you
tough.
get to number 1, Ike. Oh, my God.
Number 5 is actually one involving Spike.
Oh.
Because simply put, Spike Eskin let Joe DeCamara off the hook.
Joe, before I give my judgment, I'd like to tell you how disappointed I am in you. Today, every day, and on a regular basis. Trying to weasel out of this bet is right in line with your character and not surprising to me at all. That said, I sadly am going to have to give a verdict of not guilty.
Yeah!
Mr. DeCamara, you are sadly free to leave.
Shame.
Yeah! And I didn't even stand for the verdict, and I'll stand and now I'll sit down and Milt, my man, Coach Mike. Spike Eskin, I'm not supposed
I'm not
to.
gonna
You're
give
not
you a
gonna-
high
It's
five.
outrageous.
Thank you. It's
outrageous.
It's absolutely the right verdict.
That was not one of your finer moments.
Look, I am a fair judge. I think Joe was guilty.
If that was a jury, you think we would have set him free?
Look, I'm just saying, in the trial of Joe DeCamara, the prosecution did a lousy job. It was
Brazier, right?
Brazier did a lousy job.
Mickey
And
Morandini.
I can't remember if it was Milt Thompson or Mickey Morandini that was the prosecution.
I think Mickey was the prosecution.
They did a horrible job, and I couldn't convict them based on what they presented in court.
They didn't bring you enough evidence.
No, they just
presented
didn't.
Enough evidence.
I would love to convict DeCamara.
Man.
I had to host that show twice because DeCamara was late. I would love to lay the boom
That was
on
all time,
DeCamara.
yeah.
But we couldn't find him.
Yeah.
We had to send
Somebody to make sure he was alive.
I had to send the doorman up to his apartment to try to wake him up because we thought that he might have died.
Now, he's not missed the morning show yet. We're still waiting on that.
It'll happen.
It'll happen at some point.
it'll happen.
The fourth toughest moment of the DeCamara and Ritchie show is, after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, DeCamara let this happen.
There was no doubt in my mind I was watching this game with my family, and my mom's 75 years old, and she was who I was going to watch the game with. I mean, that's just the way it was. And to watch that game with my family last night, man, that meant everything to me. Let's go to the phones. 888. I'm sorry to cry. I'm just very emotional. 888-729-9494. Let's go to Rick. Rick, you're on 94 WIP.
I mean, it's so
Who the hell comes on the air like,
so tough.
By the way, Seltzer trying to comfort him. It's okay, man.
Always. Yeah.
It's okay. And
always.
boy, Joe sounds 20 years younger in that clip.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Has it been 20 years since we won a Super
It
Bowl?
seems like it. Feels like it. Feels like it's been 20 years since the Brazil game, to be quite honest with you.
Well, I mean, and part of the reason why he sounded that way is number 3. The third toughest moment in DeCamara and Ritchie history was when he was sick.
Oh, yeah.
Leading into the Super Bowl and almost had to miss you actually missed the entire run until that week.
Yep.
Talk about an unclutched performance by Joe DeCamara. And Spike has burned that audio.
He did.
So we cannot find it.
I haven't burned any audio. I don't.
He's informed everyone not allowed to play it.
Did I?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe I did it at the time because I was.
We wanted to kill him that day
Yeah.
over it.
Well, he got in Spike's defense, he could have died.
I was very worried about him. Is that when Ritchie said he sounded small?
Yes. Yes, and that's when Ritchie really wanted to pummel him at all times.
Yeah.
I want to punch your face.
Yeah.
Crush your face.
Sounds so small.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that was classic.
I mean, he really should. After that, you missed the Super Bowl run. You shouldn't end up as the morning show host.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
He missed the Falcons game, the Vikings game, and luckily came back the week of the Super Bowl.
Shocker.
Crying.
Yeah, crying. Always crying.
Yeah.
They're all crying on the midday show / morning show, which leads us.
We know what number 2 is.
Which leads us to number 2. Who could forget this classic? I mean, it's actually worse when you listen to it in full. This classic from John Ritchie.
This is like uncharted territory for me to be like unable to function.
Were you in Joe DeCamara territory of
Absolutely.
Did you cry?
Did you cry? I was bawling. I was bawling.
A lot of people did. I know they did.
I mean, this is really.
Oh.
I'm laughing at myself a little bit because I can't control it now.
Wow.
This morning, talking to Joe Wechter, we're walking in. He said, "How you doing?"
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to laugh this off. It's not funny. I don't know how to react.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Look,
This is affecting me so much more than it should.
Why?
Because he was so much more to me than most players, and I identified with him.
Yep.
I think
Sure.
in a lot of ways that I didn't even realize.
Well, take
now.
a breath here, my man. Listen, there's a lot going on.
no.
Obviously, there was a lot of people.
It got so bad by the end.
Hold up.
By the way, for anyone listening who hasn't heard that before, that was just because Jason Kelsey retired.
That's it.
That's all that happened. The guy didn't die. He's on the show for an
man.
hour every week.
Dude, I was just getting ready to ask, what was that for?
It was for Jason Kelsey retiring. At the top of his game, completely healthy, walking into a $20 million a year
$100
podcast
million
contract.
podcast deal.
He was so much more to me than most players, and I identified with him.
Yep.
I think
Sure.
in a lot of ways that I didn't even realize.
Oh, man.
By the way, how uncomfortable do you think DeCamara was in that moment? To try
He was totally uncomfortable.
having to comfort Ritchie.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Man, that was bad, man.
It's the whole thing makes it that much tougher. I mean, this really is just so tough.
He was so much more to me than most players, and I identified with him.
Yep.
I think
Sure.
in a lot of ways that I didn't even realize.
What is he talking about? What is he talking about?
I have no idea.
A lot of ways he didn't even realize.
Oh, man. He wasn't a teammate. Like,
No.
what?
It's ridiculous. But number 1.
Does Ritchie cry every time some big white guy retires anywhere in America?
That's why I identified with
Yeah.
it.
This is really.
Just so nasally. It's so nasally. But
Here's the new one.
the number
man.
1.
This is so tough, Ike. This next one.
Like, try not to just cringe listening to this. The number 1 moment, Jason Kelsey on the morning show this morning celebrating their 8-year anniversary as a show.
Here, Jason. So, 8-year anniversary today of our program going back to the midday show.
Okay.
October 24, 2016, we started. I know you listened, at some point you started listening to us.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite moment through the years?
Oh, my God.
Now, it can be kicking Seltzer's ass at a beer chugging contest.
I mean,
That's one of my favorites, too.
That's
that was
up,
good.
that's
We
up
need,
there.
we need to get a rematch, though. That was not a fair bout. That was the largest beer I've ever chugged.
Me too.
I think, man. So, favorite from this show specifically?
Yeah, the 6 years in the midday, 2 years in the morning.
Just one.
You know what?
It's not an easy question.
It's not.
It's not. I would say, I've been a big follower of the midday show. I think you guys have always had really good chemistry and a sense of humor that I align with.
I like pain.
My favorite part is probably when Angelo's like kind of calling it quits, and you guys were announced as going to be the replacement for that show.
Wow.
I know there's a lot of who knew what was going to happen. I think that was like, oh, okay, these guys are moving up to the 6 to 10 slot. And
That's very nice,
think,
man.
That is really-
So I think that was
that's
probably
cool.
they've been hard at work at this for a long time. So I think I was happy for you guys as a listener to this specific group. Yeah, I'm
Thanks,
good there.
man.
Yeah.
Couldn't come up with one moment And no one would throw him a lifeline.
Why you put the guy on the spot, man? Yeah, why you put the guy on the spot, man?
Well, at some point, Jason said to Joe off air, "Yeah, I love the show. I always listen to it."
Right.
And Joe took that literally and asked the guy, if you asked me what my favorite moment was, what did I come up with 3 moments? And I was the program director.
Oh, my God. I did not hear that live today.
Could not come up with one moment. And by the way, all those sound effects there, that was Jack. They weren't having fun with it. So that Jeopardy music, that was you, right, Jack? That was not in the morning show. Yeah, so it was just dead air with Jason Kelsey trying to come up with one midday show moment.
I think, man. So favorite from this show specifically.
Yeah, the 6 years in the midday.
Any show. Literally any show. Oh, my God.
What time do they have Jason on?
7:30 to 8:30.
That's early, man. That's early for him, man, to be thinking.
I'm not laughing at Jason. I'm laughing at Joe, John, and James, thinking, by extension, Rhea and Devin, who are not responsible for the midday show stuff. But I'm laughing at Joe, John, and Joe, first of all, for asking that question, and then nobody on the show saying, "Hey, we don't want to, you can't even think of one." Right? Can't one person...
break the ice. Come on, Seltzer. What are you in there doing?
Can't one person go, he doesn't actually listen to the show? And then everybody, no. Just let him squirm.
I would say...
this show? Let her say this show specifically.
You talking about this show?
Yeah. And by the way, they bought him some time with the beer thing.
Yes.
And you can hear Jason recanting it just so his brain can work and maybe remember one thing. All right, go ahead.
So favorite from this show specifically.
Yeah, the 6 years in the midday, the 2 years in the morning.
8 whole years, Jason.
You know what?
It's not an easy question.
It's not.
It's not.
Richie knew they were in trouble.
Yeah,
I would
Richie
say.
Poor guys.
This hour is brought to you by Guided Door and Window. Buy a window or door. Get the second at half off with 18 months interest-free financing. Call Guided Door and Window today at 877-GO-GUIDA or visit GUIDA.com.
Let me tell you, man.
Yes, sir.
There's not a soundbite, clip in that log in there that brings me to tears like that John Ritchie.
Crying thing?
Oh, my God, man. I just lose it every time, man.
He was so much more to me than most players. And I identified with him, I think.
Sure.
I think.
In a lot of ways that I didn't even realize.
Dude, if you are a member of the Kelsey family, stay far away from John Ritchie.
Yes,
because there is some single white female stuff going on there. I'm surprised John doesn't come to work dressed like in the mummer's outfit.
He said, I identify with him. What does that mean?
Played football?
Oh, I love you, Richie.
Oh, my God.
Man.
So good.
Boy, I tell you, they have some moments on that show,
They
man.
do. They do. On purpose or by accident?
Yeah, most of them by accident.
Once again, poor Joe Wechter.
Yep.
Richie comes in, you do all right? Richie starts crying to Joe Wechter.
Because Jason Kelsey retired.
Yes, exactly.
That we all knew he was going to retire.
Knew he was retiring, stayed in the city, still comes into NovaCare, still comes into WIP, completely healthy, making trillions of dollars.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Boy, that Ritchie is something else, man.
He sure is.
That is an awesome pair.
Yep. Yoshi.
That you put together.
Yes. Accidentally. I had no idea.